Hey y'all, how's everyone doing? I'm Kate Wolf. I'm the co-chair and head of programming and operations here at Do the Work, alongside our other co-chair, Graham Nolan. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Hey Fam. I think my video is still trying to get on screen, but hopefully I'm there. We do Hey Fams here for Do the Work, and this is our series. This is actually going to conclude our launch series, so we're really, really excited. But today, we're going to have Zipeng Zhu, founder and creative director of Dazzle Studio. Is going to be talking with JP Napleton from Mother New York. But before we jump in and we get to the meat of what you're all here for, I just love to do a little bit of housekeeping items, talk a little bit about Do the Work and why we're here and what we're trying to accomplish as an organization. So first and foremost, Do the Work. We are a grassroots organization for a queer creative community and platform. We look to empower the industry and marketers alike to inspire and reward and celebrate creative marketing and advertising culture as a whole. And we truly know with active inclusion of queer talent, we will unleash untapped creative that we've never seen before and potential, as well as advanced business. If we're avoiding the code switching and covering that comes with hiding who you are, you can't possibly be focused on the work at hand. And so we believe if we alleviate that pressure and create a safe space for everybody, everybody's gonna win. So today we're having a discussion about how we, but specifically these two, are staying creative in this unprecedented time and how queer influences have been a part of that creativity. It's important, especially now, to be inspired to do that damn work. So here's what you can expect from our amazing guests, Zipeng and JP. They'll talk for about a half an hour, give or take, and they'll be focused on their own creative process. They're not going to be monitoring the chats. We will, but we are going to be focused on the Q&A. So if you have any questions that you want to ask either one of our panelists, by all means, enter it right into the Q&A button down here, not the chat, the Q&A, because at the end of the talk, Michael, our producer, is going to come out like the voice of higher power and the curtain behind Oz, or Oz behind the curtain, and read those questions out loud to our panelists for the last 10 minutes of the event. An important note is often we get so many good questions that we can't answer them all. So please, if we missed anything good, by all means, shoot us a note. We're happy to answer them. Or even if you have a great idea for a Hey Fam series, send it our way. But a few ground rules here. Creativity is positive energy. So we have some ground rules that we ask, especially when you're asking questions. Questions should be honest and challenging, but most importantly, kind. We want to keep the focus on the work and how we can change the work and not on the individuals. That's really, really important to us. This needs to maintain a safe space. And creativity is such a broad topic that you should have absolutely no trouble there finding a way to handle that. And just so you know, as I said before, if we have too many questions, we're gonna randomly choose them. But you know, if there are some really good ones in there, we'll make sure that we tackle them in the next one. All right, housekeeping items done. So I'm thrilled to invite and introduce our guests who actually are gonna talk about themselves and do a little bit of introduction. So with that, please welcome Zipeng and JP.
Hi.
Hi. So as we previously agreed, I'm gonna start first. My name is Zipeng Zhu, and I am an artist, designer, art director, animator, illustrator, also the founder of the creative studio Dazzle. And I want to make every day a Razzle Dazzle musical. JP?
Love that. My name is John Paul, and I go by JP. Not as exciting, but I feel excited about it. I'm an account manager at Mother, originally born in Mexico, raised in Texas, and thankfully found my way out of Texas into the beautiful city of New York City. So yeah, speaking of like cities, and especially New York being it, how are you, Zipeng, knowing that you're from New York and knowing that we were once the epicenter of all of this mess that we call quarantine. How have you been doing? How, like, first and foremost, how are you as a person?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would like to claim that I'm from New York, but I'm actually originally from China. But I've been there for 11 years, so I'm kind of like, I would like to take on a little bit of the ownership of being a New Yorker now.
Exactly.
I'm doing okay. I would say I'm trying to make the best out of the worst, I would say right now. And
Yeah.
I am currently hiding in the land of Woodstock in upstate New York to just be sort of like away from everything and everybody.
Oh my gosh.
So I am very grateful and blessed that I get to, have this, secret habitat that nobody knows where I am really. But yeah, how about you?
I'm doing all right. I think all right is like the good, just like steady answer that I've been giving people. Not in the beautiful nature of Woodstock. I am in my apartment in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, where I've been since the start of all of this. Wishing I were in nature, 100%. Wishing I could get out, and I still have time and the opportunity. But overall, doing okay. Again, like thankful for the roof over my head, my job, my health, my friends. Thank goodness for my friends to help me, like, get through all of this. But overall, doing okay. So thankful. I think that's one thing that I like and for sure am.
I'm not gonna lie. When the pandemic first started, I definitely would never thought that I would be a person that would enjoy Mother Nature because, like, he and I are not really that close, and I'm, starting to know her a little bit. She's pretty awesome, occasionally scary, but yeah. I mean, I definitely felt the pandemic definitely bring a lot of unexpectedness out of everybody. I think, I am a little bit more surprised and surprised about how adaptable I am, how flexible I am in many ways, and and how kind of open-minded I am. Like, I thought that I hated a lot of things, and turned out I just didn't know better, and that I am more open to try new things now. And yeah, and what do you feel is like the most takeaway from what's going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think for me, and as I mentioned like earlier, friends, the community that I have is so, so important to me. Like, without like the people in my life, I don't know where, one, in general, where I would be regardless COVID or not, pre-quarantine, post-quarantine. In general, the community is so important to me, my friends. But especially now, just having people that I can speak to about how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and especially in a time where you can't and shouldn't gather, like, together. Having still them to lean on to virtually has just been so, so crucial. And I think, again, you didn't necessarily ask this, but one thing that I've also like realized that I missed is, and I didn't realize as much as I thought that I would, is like a queer space. Like, I miss going to, there's like this bar near me called the Rosemont, which any Brooklyn gay would know is just my go-to, just sweaty dance environment. And again, just not realizing how much I would miss that. And again, not only in just like a let loose environment, but tying it back to just queerness in general, how important it is to have that community and safe space. I missed it. My bedside apartment is not fulfilling that.
Oh, but on the other hand, I feel like on the bright side, like with the Liberation March, I felt like for the first time in a very long time that we kind of reclaim pride a little bit. I felt like, like this
Yeah.
year, the march has no corporation sponsorship. There's no stupid ass floats. Like, I love I love like people are just being people, like supporting love instead of like, like money involved or whatever. I think like in that regard, I think it's kind of beautiful. And I'm so sorry to hear that, you don't get to get and get dancy with, other people in the community. But, you know, at some point it's going to happen again. And I'm sure like we will, like once that's available, people are going to go extra hard. And then, you know, I would say maybe just save up your energy and then, you know, practice ultimate moves and then just like do some like, I don't know, what's it called? Death drop or something. Like, you know, maybe just like be on the floor.
I'll try. But the one thing that you brought up, and again, we've talked, you know, just briefly before this, was just pride in general and how, one, you mentioned, and I agree, pride changed this year, particularly, and particularly in New York, you know, in numerous ways. Again, and from to my knowledge as well, recognizing the empowerment of trans Black lives and making those voices known, which is so important. And that was just a huge prominent thing within Pride this month. But the second thing which I was wanting to get at was just how you mentioned how Pride in the past has always just been like this 1 month initiative that brands always focus on and like do the most, and like you feel sometimes tokenized, like being reached out to like speak on like Pride initiatives only during June. But you also were like, and again, I agree, and I think many people are agreeing now, it's like an all year-round effort that brands and people need to realize and focus on. So just wanted to like hear a little bit about that, because I know you like had just something to share about it.
Yeah, I mean, I am like a creative, and then I felt like sometimes I felt I don't exist after June. You know, like when May starts, I start to get emails basically like, oh, we'd like to, you know, do a collab with you, we'd like to feature you, we'd like to do an interview with you. And then it's all private. Nothing wrong with it. Happy to do it. But meanwhile, it's just like I also exist elsewhere other time as well. Also, I felt like I am a little bit more than my queer identity. You know, like I just sometimes like, you know, I have a whole lot more to offer, and you know, it's okay. This is all you see right now, and then, but I would like to hopefully slowly introduce myself and my, you know, skill sets to the world a little bit more and more. But on the other hand, I am very grateful this year. For the first time, I get to do a collab that exceeds the Pride Month. It's called the Love Spectrum with a company called Alex. They're based in California. So it's a Pride drink. So it's beer, white wine, rosé, and then it's kind of available all year long. And then they're just a line of gradient if you line up all the cans together. So it's great. Not only because it's launching not during Pride Month, but also most of the proceeds goes to the artists, and also the Marsha P. Johnson Foundation, which is support, you know, trans Black lives. And I felt like for the first time, like this is, you know, not people trying to make profit out of the community, but they genuinely want to support and then want to do good for the people, which I think that is quite it's like a nice change, you know.
No, I agree, and I think that's like the biggest thing, the biggest learning from all of this, without getting too much in like the business side of things, is that people are holding brands accountable now more than ever. We always have, you know, within the past couple of years, but especially this year, keeping brands accountable what they're doing with their money. It's beyond just an ad, beyond just the colors, you know, the Pride colors, beyond, and you know, it means so much more. Where are you funding? Who are the people that are behind the work? Who are the people that you're empowering to create the work? Like there's so many layers nowadays, and as it should be. It's going to be a hard thing for brands to do and execute, because you have to actually search for the people, you know, the queer talent, the POC talent, etc. But like that's what we need to be doing and moving towards. So it's super exciting.
But like I feel like, oh sorry,
no, go ahead.
Want to like add a little bit to it. Is I felt true allyship requires some work to put into it. You know, like, you know,
exactly.
Being an ally, it's not easy, and sometimes you have to do some homework, and then you can't just be like, blah 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 and check the list and then be okay with it. Like we're not at the time anymore. And I feel, and that's maybe one of the reasons that people are holding brands more accountable, because just saying something, it's not enough anymore, and you need to be really put in the work and then really do the actual put in the actual effort. I think that's what a true ally really means.
Yeah, I agree. And like one thing that I've heard recently, just like allyship is no longer enough. It's being an accomplice, which means you walk hand in hand with the people that you're moving forward with. You're not just being the ally, which kind of could mean sometimes you're standing on the side praising, but accomplice walks hand in hand with the people. So one little thing that I've learned. A question that I have for you that you mentioned, and I feel this way too, is just sometimes people view us for our identity solely, whether it's our sexuality, whether it's our race, which in some senses is good and needs to be done, because we need to be represented in the room for those types of decisions. But curious of what you feel like, what do you want, if there was like one quality of who you are that you would want people to know automatically about you, beyond outside of the labels of your, again, sexuality, race, etc., what would that be? There was just like one quality that you wish people would know.
I wish people would know that I can be sophisticated and then be elegant as well, because I'm gonna change my background real quick just to show people what my background is, which is this. And in many ways, it's very in your face, and then that's a big part of the work that I do. I like create a visually striking look overall. However, I got size, I got angles, I got taste, I got sophistications, and sometimes it's a little hard. Like, first of all, it's already hard to convince people hiring me to do black and white work, not to mention, like some tasteful script and all that. Like, I love those things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like, sometimes it's not what I put out to the world, but does not mean that, I have no interest or I have no capability. And that's what I felt sometimes I struggle with, especially when it comes to social sometimes, is people's imaginations are a little bit narrow. And so you have to sort of really put a lot of work, guide the narratives for people. However, like I think this is in many ways, like, a lot of us are feeling is like, not only we are more than the label that we put on, also like we are more than the work that we put out,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's a struggle, but I am, on the other hand, I feel very blessed that people like, at least I feel people seem to like what I make. And yeah, like I felt this is gonna be a slow progress, but we're gonna get there at some point.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I
So,
feel like, oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Please.
No, I feel like if I were to think about the one thing I would want people to know about me would be, beyond all the labels, beyond of just what I put out there in the world, is that I'm not afraid to call out shit. I think my personality, and again, like we haven't gotten to know each other enough, is that I'm just a very easygoing, like love people, love connecting with people. But one thing that I'm just growing again in the 3 years that I've been in the industry only, like I'm starting to feel like I'm getting a voice for myself and kind of like where I want to ultimately go. Like account management is a nice place to start off and a nice place to like learn the basics and the skills of like advertising. But I think I ultimately want to be a voice. And again, this sounds so cliche, but a voice of just calling out bad shit. And what I mean by that is like things that we've seen, particularly to like POC groups and POC audience, of like brands just getting things wrong. And you're always thinking like, how did that get past people in the room? How did that get out there in the world? And again, I'm still early on my career in developing my voice, but that's one thing that I want to be known as, is like a voice to stand up against things that I feel are wrong in terms of, again, underrepresented groups as a whole, but particular POCs. So that's like the kind of what I would want people to know is like, you know, I can be nice and that's how I am, but also just like, don't mess with me. I'm serious, you know?
I mean, I think it's important to, I mean, that's another thing I felt like somehow you could only be, you know, one thing or one-sided. You know, like I am overall pretty happy, pretty chappy, but like I get serious too, or I get sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Like today, I'm just so like I feel so much for Beirut right now. Like, you know, like all like this is all I can think about right now. And, you know, it's like really like 2020, like we're gonna have just more shit happening. And it's like, you know, we're in the middle of August and I feel like I'm turning 30 this year, but I felt by the time that I turned 30, I'm like 75, you know, like it's like so much. But meanwhile, it's like, yeah, like I felt it's really important right now for people not only to stand up for themselves, stand up for others, and stand up for the communities, because the past 4 years, especially, I felt people are being more and more marginalized in a way that more blatantly. You know, I feel like before there were shame and, you know, some, you know, things involved to sort of like, you know, they're in disguise, but now it's just like in people's face. And like personally speaking, you know, just dealing with the term China virus, it's like already like started from, I remember I was asked to give a workshop at MICA in Baltimore. And funny enough, my assignment is to have all my students design a statement mask, which, you know, I don't want to say I'm a pioneer, but like, you know, I'm very, so, you know, however, what's frustrating to me was that I, you know, got up here in Woodstock, and, you know, when I go to groceries, I start to, you know, literally get looks from people. Like, you know, sometimes I was like, you know what, it's probably something I wear, but sometimes, you know, it's like, I don't think so. You know, if I just put on a t-shirt and whatever. And never before I've gotten this much, you know, I wouldn't say visceral attack, but, you know, they're still quite obvious, you know, looks. And it's just, I feel like it's more important for people than ever to really stand up and defend for themselves, because if you don't, you like people would take advantage of that. And I personally just feel like I got no time for that. And it's
no, I totally feel that. And just in a different sense, but in terms of just dealing with people's different opinions, especially now, there's just so much going on. But in particular, in relation to the social racial issue that's happening now, growing up in the South it was just such like an interesting thing. And what I'm getting at is like, I'm so involved right now in the protest, involved in being vocal on my social media about what I think and what I feel. And it's for the first time where I genuinely have zero shame for it. And again, growing up in the South, there are so many people back home, friends and family, that think completely opposite than what I think and than what I feel. And that's been wild in the first place. But I think for the first time, and then this kind of goes with like the getting over the fear and just being strong in what you think and what you feel. I'm unafraid to have those conversations with people and unafraid to be vocal about what I think and what I feel, like regardless of my background and regardless of where I'm from. Because Texas is in its own little mess, of course. But yeah, it's remaining strong through all of these things is basically what I'm getting at, and being like very like have a point of view, know what you're thinking, and stand by it is like really crucial nowadays. So yeah,
definitely. And another thing I felt just from what you just mentioned is the fact that to getting more comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I felt, you know, as a POC, for the longest time, sometimes we just take a deep breath and then move on, especially from my community, like the Asian community. Very, very often we just, take a deep breath and then just move on. Like about like last week, there were two men attacked a Chinese grandma and was trying to set her on fire, literally in Brooklyn. And then she did not tell her children until the next day. And then their children, call the media and try to get this, reported, because it's just simply unacceptable. And then the poor grandma was like, I just don't want them to worry and all that. And that is what breaks my heart so much, is that, often things weren't being said because with fear and concern they have for other people in the community. So I felt like, to me, especially right now, if I get to, call something out or call somebody out or some company out, if I can sort of like stand up a little bit for the causes that I really, here for, I felt, I can go to sleep at night, because otherwise it just, for the longest time, a lot of us don't have any, volume. And then I feel like it's changing now a lot. And I am, I feel it's really time for people to, take that stage, and then to really put what they want to express out there.
No, I agree 100%. One thing that I'm curious about is, like, there are so many things that are happening out in the world, particularly within the US. And especially in terms of identity and how people identify as, how do you think is that currently transferring into like the work environment, in terms of like in our industry, in the way that, again, beyond just like the way people are being represented in work, but just how people feel in the workplace, bringing them their full selves to the workplace, being their true voices, what they stand for, their identities. Like, do you think the creative industry is a safe space for that? If not, why? Or if yes, why? Like, just kind of curious what you're thinking.
Yeah. First of all, that's insanely awesome question, and also a semi-complicated one.
Yeah, I agree.
I have two sides. I would say I felt on one side, our industry, in many ways, it's very progressive and very open-minded, and then in some ways it's, in some ways it is portfolio driven, in a way that, like, if your work is really good, then you will, get some form of reward. However, on the other hand, I felt our industry sort of has fundamental privilege set at default. Like design or creativity in general, visual creativity in many ways, it comes with, it comes after your essentials has been taken care of. It comes with
Right.
your food is being taken care of. You have roof on top of your head, and then you have disposable incomes for you to make things and for you to design things, for you to make things better. So I felt in many ways, because that is a privilege on its own, and in many ways that will self-reflect either intentional or unintentional discriminations against marginalized people. And I felt in many ways, for example, I was on the board of AIJ New York, which is one of the biggest design organization in America. However, I quit just a few months ago because I was not agree with how the national response in terms of racial injustice and systemic racism, because they are not willing to acknowledge or admit that exists, or they're not willing to accept that there's a problem out there. And to me, that's a problem on its own.
Yeah,
If
I
you're
agree.
not willing to do any self-examination of your own, then you are insanely problematic.
Yeah.
And like, we had Obama as a president does not mean racism is over, and then that's far from it. And and Donald Trump is the fucking example of he thinks he's probably the best human being on earth, therefore he's such a sociopath, and so problematic. And I think sometimes our industry in a way it's have some tendency of that, just because it is a very privileged group of people
Right.
in doing work that in some ways it's very ephemeral in a way. So I felt that's why I think it's kind of a complicated thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm glad you had mentioned like acknowledgement. I think like for me, I hope agencies and creative agencies, places are doing like three things, which is like acknowledgement, acknowledging what's happening in the world, acknowledging who it's impacting, action, doing something about it, not going beyond just like saying what's happening, but doing something about it. And then three, like accountability, like, which means like you're going to continue that action. You're going to hold yourself accountable and like make sure that things from the past don't happen again. So it's like, I hate doing that, but it's like the 3 A's, it's like, but again, it's I like definitely think, and again, I see that not to put Mother on a pedestal, but I really do think they're doing a great job of just like, they have been so good with us, like us as employees, of like, again, acknowledging what's happening. Having a big open forum to talk about racial injustice and what's happening, particularly with Black lives. Action, having a full action plan of what they're going to do to better our talent, better our retention, better our clients, etc. And then accountability is like, all right, let's not only do it in the now, but what are we going to do 6 months from now? And again, I know other agencies and places are doing the same, and I think that's just like so crucial, like to do all three of those things in order to like really lead to change. So I'm crossing my fingers. I hope that like all of that happens and stays true. But it is a complicated question, and I'm just thankful, at least where I am, that I can bring my full self and like be in a place where that also lets that happen, but then actually acts upon it to encourage others to feel the same and do the same. So yeah,
definitely. And in many ways I felt that's more important, start from the individual, and then the collective, and then the community, right? I think it takes you or me to start to do our work, and then hopefully that could or the other people to hopefully influence others and the rest of the group. And that's awesome. And I cannot wait to see what Mother does.
We'll see. Just to again learn a little bit about you and a little less heavy maybe. Just like, what do you value about your queer identity? I know we kind of like talked about this, and like everyone is on a different journey in their queerness and what that means, and just like, what does that mean to you?
I first of all, this one is also like a multi-layered thing, because I'm an immigrant, I'm Chinese, and I'm queer. I felt like I'm like an onion, just got like a load of different color skins, like you can peel off me. But more so it's the fact that I think the first most important thing about my queerness is self-expression. I think being able to I am currently wearing, a Disney hat and the floral shirt, and then be not only I'm okay with it with myself, but also other people okay with it with me wearing them. I think that's one big part that's really important, I think, to my queerness. But also, lots of things I make are highly, influenced from my personal queer experience. I would say, like, everybody's experience is different. Like,
Yeah,
it's really hard to have a like a general experience, because I think we all have a very different path. And then
mhm.
I felt I'm doing my best to channel my inner rainbow to sort of bring it out to the world, trying to, I try to be like a human rainbow as much as possible.
Love
You know,
that. Love that.
and sometimes I'm more colorful, sometimes I'm, just, kind of just bright and shiny, but sometimes more colorful. And I think that's the one big part that's really important to me. But on the other part, I felt what I learned from the community is that the power of people coming together like in solidarity really not only shows resilience but really shows progress. I felt like the beauty, especially when if you think about pride, right? It really, from people defending their existence to celebrating love, and then that's a huge progression. And to
Yeah,
me,
you're really right.
so beautiful. I keep seeing chat says there's Q&As, and then we'll get to it. But what about you? Like, what do you feel like your inner queerness has influenced your life?
Yeah, I think, and this maybe is a cliche answer, but it really is pride. Like, and what I mean by that is like growing up in the South, I had to like be careful in like how I presented myself. I never wanted to be too gay, too queer, and it felt like that for the longest time. Like I really didn't feel like I could be my true self. But again, I knew who I was and I was out, but I never felt the full expression of being me and what that meant. And it wasn't until I think moving to New York when I finally felt that, and I'm finally feeling that, especially now, like, at 25, like I'm so proud in being gay. I'm so proud in being me, and like I want everyone to know that, and I like want to be unapologetic me all the time and like be unafraid. Yeah, and literally that. And so like that's like one thing. And then I think the second thing is empathy. I think because I've like, again, my struggles are my own, and like don't compare to anyone else's, and everyone's different journeys, different struggles, but my struggles have made me strong and have allowed me to uh, just empathize with other people's struggles. Again, I will never understand fully to the extent what other people go through, but because I have gone through my own, I can like relate. And so like empathy is another quality I think that it's an interesting thing that I like value about my queerness. It allows me to empathize and relate to people in ways that I wouldn't be able to if I weren't queer, I think. But yeah. Yeah. So we want to do questions. Is that the next thing?
Sure. I think one anonymous attendee asks, advertising/marketing is such a powerful visual world. What's a specific image you still want to literally see in ads?
Oh,
Hard one. Pretty good one though.
it is. Oh wait, let me pull up. I didn't see this Q&A thing. Power for the visual world. What is a specific image you still want to literally see in ads? Ooh.
I mean, I'm gonna just put out like what I feel I would like to
Yeah.
see. Like, I want to see more sex positive
Mm.
in the world. I mean, I'm a professional slut. Semi, I'm taking a break at the moment because of what's going on right now. However, I just felt, sex is something that's so beautiful, that should be celebrated. And then I felt like, we're slowly getting to it, and that hopefully, one day this will be less of a taboo subject matter, that we can, see it on, I don't know, like MSNBC or something. That would be great.
Yeah. I think for me, and again, it's already what's happening, but just a representation of what people actually look like. And I hope brands are starting to do that, just like in terms of skin color, in terms of body size, like just being more real and representative and living outside of this fantasy. And I think the more you can show that and show like how people actually look, the better. That's just my thing.
Definitely. Um, So that one's answered. Okay, this one's great. Another anonymous attendee asked, this question is relevant, but also just a fun little brainstorm. Who's the queer pop culture icon who needs a multi-million-dollar spokesperson deal now?
Oh, I don't know.
Let me.
Queer pop culture icon.
I think I'm just kind of like, this is the first person popped to my head. I think Miss Cracker needs to be like, you know, because I felt Miss Cracker is like, sometimes I have a complicated feeling towards some of the drag queens. I felt that sometimes it's exploiting like female stereotype, personally speaking, from a gay man. That's my personal opinion, please, you know. But on the other hand, I felt when I look at Ms. Cracker, I felt that she in some way is aware of that, but meanwhile, because she's aware of that, she does it very delicately and elegantly. I felt like not only she is so funny and so witty, but also it's you felt very genuine. Like I felt like it came straight from the heart. So yeah, like that's the first person pop into my head. I'm sure there are other people too.
Yeah, I think for me, and I'll be brief because I want to answer one of these questions as I'm like scrolling through. But mine is it's not a specific person, but it's local drag queens. Local drag queens, like, you know, non-ones that are in the limelight, non-ones that are on Drag Race are amazing. Like when I'm in, particularly for me in my vision, like local drag queens have been some of the people that are like leading and like being at the forefront of the protests in New York City. And that's like fucking amazing. Like not only are they there to entertain and bring lighthearted energy and like their beautiful gowns and their outfits, but they're out there on the streets like doing the work. And for me, that's phenomenal. And besides just like outside of like, you know, social unrest, they are doing so much for the community. And I feel like if brands are able to, or, you know, queer brands or whatever, are able to tap into local drag queens, like it'll just raise everything and bring so much authenticity to who they are and what they represent. So that's just, again, it's not, I know it's not a specific up and coming pop queen or, you know, whatever, but that's just something that I like think. The one question I really like is, what's the best thing? And I'm sorry, like, do the work crew if we're like taking answering these cues, I don't know. But anyways, what's the best thing a CEO at an agency could announce to all their employees to show they, quote, get it and are ready to support? That is like a really hard question. But, and this is maybe not a direct answer, but one thing that I've learned through, and I'm going to name drop Arthi, who used to be our old managing director at Mother. And she's amazing, amazing, amazing person. But the one thing that I really valued that she did is that she really started from the bottom up. I think a lot of times in companies, and just, you know, my naive knowledge, starts at the top to make decisions, and that's the right thing to do. And you know, they know the company, they know where it needs to go, but it all goes along with the line of empowering and elevating the voices of the future. And they also get it. The younger generation, the 22-year-olds, the 23-year-olds that are in your agencies and your spots, get it. And like, in order to get it, you need to tap into them and get to know them and empower them. You know, what are they thinking? What does your workplace need to do in order to be better? You know, empower them to like present in front of leadership and CEOs and C-suites. Like, and again, I know there's this whole taboo of like paying your dues within the industry and like not yet, but I really think that's in my opinion, the way for C-suites and execs and leaderships within you know, workplaces to really get things right is to listen to the younger generation, listen to the future generation, empower them. That's just like my thought. And yeah.
Our next question comes from Graham. If your entire team came to you and said, tell me specifically what to do starting today to be a great accomplice, what would you tell them?
I think that's more of your question, JP.
um, if you were to tell me specifically what to do starting today to be a great accomplice, what would you tell them? I think this says layers. I think the way to go about it is not to say, tell me. It's like, and again, this is getting into layers, but like a lot of the time, POCs and queers, I want to like include, you know, it depends on like if it's a straight person coming to a queer person, a white person coming to a POC person, like a lot of the times the underrepresented group has to have done the work, you know? And I think we're getting in a time now where regardless of the underrepresented group is tired of doing the work and we need our accomplices to do that. And so like come forward with like solutions, you know, like come forward with a plan of action, come forward again with questions to grow and to challenge. But I think that's just one thing that I'm learning, and like people are doing more so now. It's like, I'm going to do this for you. Like, how does that feel? What does that, you know, tell me if I'm doing things right in terms of, but here's a solution. Be solution oriented, ask questions to grow, you know, to understand who they are, etc. But again, the takeaway is like, I think underrepresented groups has far too long carried weight of solutions. And now it's time for accomplices to step up to the plate and bring forward those solutions rather than just asking, what should I do? Sorry, that's
Our next question comes from an anonymous attendee who asks, you've both spoken so well to bravery. What's a way in which you're maybe still trying to level up in terms of bravery?
Yeah.
I can take this one. I am, to be honest, in forever debate of because I'm an immigrant here, and visa and immigration is obviously a huge issue. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, right now I am not on the street protesting for, you know, safety reasons and all that. But I genuinely hope, you know, once the pandemic is over, I would be brave enough to be on the street to protest with other people, because I always have the fear that, you know, if I get, you know, arrested and my future in this country is over. However, if that's the fear, maybe that's exactly the problem this country has. And then that maybe if that's the concern, then maybe this shouldn't be the place that I, you know, stay in any longer. So I felt like I would love to like level up to the next level to, you know, literally be in the streets, you know, be with the people like physically. And that would be like how I feel.
Yeah. I think for me, just like to be brief, it's just like I want to be confident, like even more confident. I'm still growing in my confidence in what I think and what I feel, but I'm still like reserved sometimes in meetings and in terms of when I'm speaking, like just growing in knowledge. The more knowledge you have and the more understanding of what you're speaking to, again, work related, sure, but in particular to this, like queer related, POC related, etc., the more knowledgeable I am, the more confident I will be to speak to things. So that's, I guess, knowledge is like one way that I will be more brave. Yeah.
Our next question comes from Paul, who says, you mentioned rainbow washing in the beginning of the episode. What do you think brands can do to extend work beyond June to show that they are really committed to the cause?
I'm happy to answer this one. At first, is you don't have to throw rainbow at everything. You don't have to, you know, be that literal and then that obvious when it comes to being support and being an ally. And I felt like sometimes I felt it's a little performative in a way that like, oh, you know, we're cheering you up. So, you know, we're putting on all these things. But to be honest, at the bottom line, like we're just people and we're just marginalized people. And then we are just oppressed people. And if you want to support, just literally go support them. You don't have to, you know, take a selfie with the rainbow, like temporary tattoo on your face. Like, you know, like I think hopefully one day we can see like beyond that. And on the other hand, I felt it's literally just start to do other you know, work throughout the year. You know, like you don't have to only talk about queer voices in June. You can still talk about it in August or December. Like they are still out there. But you know, you can just really infuse the general interests and the general support all year long. And then I think that to me is a great way to start.
Our next question also comes from Paul, specifically for JP. You talked about allyship. Do you think brands are going to be smart enough to get ahead of the trend and become actual accomplices?
If they have the right people in the room, yes. I think it's gonna need to start inwards. Companies and brands are gonna, what I was saying anyways, are have the right people in the room and the right people making decisions. Again, you're right. As of now, I think we're just seeing a bunch of allyship. And again, there's nothing per se wrong with that. But again, accomplice means action. And again, that goes from doing more than rainbow splashing, doing more enduring efforts, doing more monetary efforts. So I think they are, but again, they have to look inside of and who they're hiring and who they're working with in order to have the right people to make those decisions. So. Yeah. All right. I think that's all the questions that we have. Kay?
Hey guys, I'm back.
Hi.
First of all, thank you to you both. This has been incredible. I do want to flag that I haven't had this much homo FOMO in so long. Like, I now am yearning for a time pre-pandemic where our community, and I think you touched on this beautifully, is a physical one. It's one where up, and and that is where we band together as more than just the initials or letters in the acronym. And I think, you know, I think you highlighted it so well. That is the thing that I'm personally yearning for. I know our community is hurting, and it is nice. And, you know, it is endemic to what we're trying to do here, do the work. So I thought, kudos to you guys. Your creativity is palpable. And it's been a pleasure, honestly. I'm actually sitting over here with like popcorn, just not even remotely an exaggeration. It's right here. So much thanks to you both, and really appreciate you taking the time. And I'm sure everybody on the other end of this has really enjoyed it as much as I have. But with that, everyone, that's our episode of Hey Fam, and here at Do the Work. Yay! So please check out the next episode of Hey Fam, which actually we're going to be taking a quick break for the next couple of weeks as we reset the calendar and move into the second half of the year. So we're thrilled to have you all come back and watch any episode, including this one. It'll be located at dothework.com, and that's work spelled W-E-R-Q, like work. And if you want, you can also sign up for our emails and updates so you can be a part of our community activities. It's also an easy way to submit questions or anything you want to talk to us. It's a two-way communication street. And with that, I also ask that you check us out on Instagram. We're doing some fun stuff there. That's the handle, Do the Work. And we're also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn if you want to get super professional with it and we can come at you from all ends. But with that, we thank you all for watching, and thank you for the questions that you guys submitted. We really appreciate it. And a special thanks to our panelists, Zipeng and JP. You guys were amazing. Absolutely fabulous to hear you talk, and you guys are so creative. And with that, that concludes Hey Fam. So bye.